students, Mr. John here. Welcome to another glorious day of learning. Today is Chapter 8, Lesson 4. And today's lesson is a little less stabby, a little less conquesty than Lesson 3, more cultured and refined. Today we discuss the great thinkers and artists of the Hellenistic era. Some great ideas came out of this era. Are there any geometry fans in this class? We'll be learning all about geometry. One scientist figured out how far around the world was, and he didn't even have Google Maps. We'll learn all about this and more on the next page. So, during the Hellenistic era, Greek scientists, artists, and writers moved around the world studying and creating fine works of art. They were part of this spread of Greek culture, that occurred during the Hellenistic era. Alexandria in Egypt was a major center of learning. It was home to the Library of Alexandria. This library is said to have housed more than 500,000 scrolls of information. It was also a museum. Today the library is gone, but Alexandria remains a vital city on the Mediterranean and a home to over 4 million people. The funny thing is they're not exactly sure how the Library of Alexandria was destroyed. Some people say it was burned down by Caesar. Some people say it was destroyed in an Arabian conquest. Interesting story. It was considered one of the wonders of the world. It's all gone now, and they say its destruction and the destruction of all that information put us back a few hundred years in knowledge and technology. Fascinating. As Greeks spread throughout the Hellenistic kingdoms, they sought to build new cities or rebuild over cities that already existed. They wanted their new cities to look like Athens. Well, really Greek in general, but Athens was sort of the epitome of Greek architecture. Now, new public works projects were started. Greek-style buildings were made, such as temples and theaters. Greek-styled statues were sculpted. The sculptors of this era began to show a little more expression in the face of the statues. They began to show them being like happy, sad, angry, things like that. There was allegedly a lot of good writing going on in this age, but not much has survived. One surviving piece of history that we know is basically called now Jason and the Argonauts. That's what it's translated to. If you've never seen any rendition of the tale of Jason and the Argonauts, you need to. The 1963 movie version is the best. Check it out if you ever get a chance. It's about Jason and his buddies looking for a golden fleece. There are claymation monsters and flying horses. It's a pretty awesome old film. The dramas of the Greeks continued into this era. Writers stopped writing tragedies and instead took a lighter tone. The theater of this time period is known as New Greek Comedy, and it actually poked fun at some pretty traditional Greek values. Moving on to the thinkers and scientists, Athens continued to be an important center for learning. Two notable philosophies came about during this time. Epicurus founded a philosophy called, Epicureanism. He believed that the goal of life was to find happiness. One way to find happiness was avoiding pain. For Epicurus, he found the most happiness in spending time with friends, keeping life simple and not sweating the small stuff. Basically not worrying too much. Epicurean means, today, if you say something is Epicurean, it means like the love of physical pleasure, like eating fine fancy foods or living in fancy houses. Sort of the opposite of Epicurus, we have a Phoenician named Zeno that founded Stoicism. Stoicism was a belief system that stressed logic and reason over emotion. It was thought that people who lived guided by their emotions ultimately ended up unhappy. Happiness could be achieved through reason. Stoics, unlike the Epicureans, felt a duty to serve the community. Today, someone is referred to, if they're referred to as a Stoic, it means they don't show much emotion. They're sort of robot face. There were some mentionable math accomplishments as well. One guy by the name of Aristarchus had this crazy idea that the sun was the center of the universe. Euclid was a mathematician that taught geometry, studying the same things you study now. Euclid specialized in plane geometry, which involved 2D shapes, two-dimensional shapes like squares and circles. Archimedes studied solid geometry, which is the geometry of three-dimensional shapes like spheres and cubes. Archimedes actually invented the catapult for like launching rocks and stuff. Here's 2D, 3D. You can see the difference. Circle, sphere. Eratosthenes, I'm going to pronounce this right. I got to get it right. Where is he? There he is. Eratosthenes. There we go. Eratosthenes was the chief librarian at Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria, and used math and the measurements of shadows to calculate the circumference or length around the Earth. And even though this was the ancient world, he was only 185 miles off. Very cool. Now, despite the fact that the four Hellenistic kingdoms shared a common culture, they did not play well together, and they often fought wars with another. They also couldn't keep their kingdoms in order. For example, Macedonia started losing control of Greek city-states. Good for the Greeks, right? Well, not so much, it turns out. Over on the Italian peninsula, that would be off to the west, a new power was building, the Empire of Rome. Any freedom gained by a Greek city-state would not last long, for Rome is coming. Alright, that's our content for today. That means up next is a study day, and then test day, and then I believe we're actually moving on to ancient Rome. Go ahead, there's going to be a simple quiz, 5 questions, 10 points. On the next page, go ahead, knock it out, and there'll be multiple attempts in case you flub the first one. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Otherwise, have a great day.